Hello and welcome to Deft and Dorky. We are going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons. We're back.
Talking. We're back.
How's it going?
Drinking on water. Jeez, I'm good.
Perfect.
What a way to start. Holy smokes.
Um, today we are talking about like the weird RP spells that people rarely take, but can be super cool.
Yes.
So
and why you should take them too.
or not. Maybe you find our arguments the opposite of compelling.
No. If you're listening to us, it's because
It's because you honor the word.
honorable.
Yeah, most time like these spells don't get taken because combat spells are important
And you're a coward.
and rolling dice is fun. Lots and lots of dice.
And you're afraid.
All those things. And
And
then
one day.
so I guess let's start off with just a few of the cantrips.
Yeah, you got a list, right?
Yeah, I do got a list. I'm gonna be skipping all around my list, so we'll see how it goes.
Cool. That sounds good.
First off, prestidigitation. The
Yeah.
spell that does not aid you in combat.
Apple. Why should you take it?
Like this. Okay, so on my first character that I made in Michael's campaign was a warlock, and
Yes.
he did not like to be wet. So I took prestidigitation so that anytime he got damp, he would immediately prestidigitation and dry himself off.
Nice.
But it's such a cool spell. You can use it to, like, well, I'll read it. You can create an instantaneous, harmless sensory effect, such as a shower of sparks, a puff of wind, faint musical notes, or an odd odor. You can instantaneously light or snuff out a candle, a torch, or a small campfire. You can instantaneously clean or soil an object no larger than 1 cubic feet. You can chill, warm, or flavor up to 1 cubic foot of non-living material for 1 hour. You can make a color, a small mark, or a symbol appear on an object or a surface for 1 hour. You create a non-magical trinket or an illusory image that can fit in your hand and that lasts until the end of your next turn. So I used the not being wet thing as a sort of extension of the clean or soil an object. Like I would clean my clothes if they got dirty. But I think it's a undervalued spell.
Oh yeah.
And the same sort of thing goes with thaumaturgy.
Yeah. They feel very similar.
Yeah, which I also have here. And it's like, okay, so your voice booms up to 3 times as loud as normal for 1 minute. You cause flames to flicker for 1 minute. You cause harmless tremors in the ground for 1 minute. You create an instantaneous sound that originates from a point of your choice within range, such as a rumble of thunder, cry of a raven, or ominous whispers. Instantaneously cause an unlocked door or window to fly open or slam shut, or you alter the appearance of your eyes for 1 minute. That one's like, one of these things is not like the other things, and it's that one.
So what's funny about these is, like, when you think about it, like, so D&D is a game, and there are rules and a system in place, and it's really easy to be like, oh, firebolt, like 3d10 damage because I'm level whatever. That's so, like, easily grasped, but things like this are at times where it's just like, okay, how, like, you read through that and you're like, oh, in a game, like, how am I going to do that? It's like, you gotta stop thinking like it's a game. You gotta start thinking like it's real life, because D&D is love. D&D is life. But, like, do you think about how insanely convenient these two spells would make your life? Like, okay, let's go through this. I want to go through both of them and their functions one by one.
Okay.
Prestidigitation. You create an instantaneous harmless sensory effect. shower of sparks, a puff of wind, faint musical notes, or an odd odor. Like, I would use those all the time. Like, small breeze, like, oh, I don't need a fan. I can just turn that on. Like, oh, my car AC is not working. I got this anyway. Faint musical notes, like, I mean, I listen to Spotify all the time. I wouldn't have to pay that $10 subscription if I could just be like, all right, boom. You instantly light or snuff out a candle, torch, or small campfire. Like, I enjoy camping. Lighting a fire is something that I am pretty okay at, but it's stuck. Like, I can just be like, boom, fire, boom, there you go.
Like you had a box of matches on you.
Yeah. And this one is insane. You instantaneously clean or soil an object no longer than 1 cubic foot. Like, we have washing machines, but to just be able to be like, all right, I'm going to fold up the shirt a little bit, boom, clean, done. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, your character could have done that in the session we did tonight.
this one, yeah, for real, right? In fact, I think I have prestidigitation, but I like the idea of like, oh, let's go wash this off. But then this one, okay, you chill, warm, or flavor up to 1 cubic foot of non-living material for 1 hour.
Yeah, that's one of the ones that Eric is always like, I'm gonna make $1 million gold as a chef. D&D with just prestidigitation.
Like, just instantly make it. Like, I mean, just, gosh, okay, I'm gonna buy Walmart bread and I'm gonna turn it into artisanal sourdough. Boom, profits.
Yeah, it.
You know, like
you have to be in a campaign that allows you to do those sorts of things, allows you time to do those sorts of things.
Yeah.
But that's where the fun is for me. Like,
yeah.
Like we're out like doing our adventurer thing, and it's like, it's rations every day. And if you're out there for that long, like, no one ever talks about it because it doesn't do anything mechanically, but you're eating the same rations every day.
Yeah.
Guaranteed, I'm using prestidigitation to change that up a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Again, also, if you're adventuring and like the water you have is whatever you have in your pig flask, pig skin or whatever you're using to carry water. Yeah, exactly. Like, doesn't have to taste like whatever water that's been in the skin for 2 days, and also it is perfectly chilled. To 40 degrees. Like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, it's great.
This is microwaves and washing machines and a tablet before any of that happened.
Yep. It's great. That and thaumaturgy. Thaumaturgy is like I could see like scam artists using it mostly.
Oh yeah.
Like snake oil salesman.
I think this
step right.
I don't know if he intentionally did this, but my brother has a character in our campaign that is just like, oh, you should take thaumaturgy because your entire character shtick is using like faith to like scam people. Like, oh, I healed you. Thaumaturgy can do so much of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's move on to, let's see. I'll pick one. We'll just go all around. Let's not even go in level order. Let's just start here. Legend lore.
Okay. Yeah, read that one.
So, name or describe a person, place, or object. The spell brings to your mind a brief summary of the significant lore about the thing you named. The lore might consist of current tales, forgotten stories, or even secret lore that has never been widely known. If the thing you named isn't of legendary importance, you gain no information. The more information you already have about a thing, the more precise and detailed the information you receive is. The information you learn is accurate but might be couched in figurative language. For example, if you have a mysterious magic axe on hand, the spell might yield this information. Woe to the evildoer whose hand touches the axe, for even the haft slices the hand of the evil ones. Only a true child of stone, lover and beloved of Moradin, may awaken the true powers of the axe, and only with the sacred word Rudnog on the lips. So that could be describing, like, you have to be a dwarf to attune to it, and that's its activation word to do whatever it does. But this kind of thing can be used to, like, give context to well, I don't want to give that one because that may come up still, but to, like, you could take something that's in a campaign that you, like, find that seemingly is of import, and cast this on it, and you can totally get like context and lore about the item and what has happened along the throughout the course of time to the item. It's super cool. The downside is it has no combat utility, and it is completely dependent on what your DM has prepared. So you could totally cast it on something that even the DM has described as legendary. But if they haven't, like, thought about how it would interact with this spell, it can totally flop. But it's the coolest spell.
And I like that you can bring up a person or a place.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like if I had this in our campaign, I'd be like, all right, Reginald Booley. Man had a statue named after him, or, like, built up. Like, that seems legendary to me. Or Shalandro. Like, these are two things that are notable from this campaign. Like, I just feel like it'd be pretty dope to know more about that. It's a level 5 spell. I would cast this at the very end of a day.
What, not before you go into a big combat?
Yeah, weird. Weird, right?
Yeah, the casting time is 10 minutes cool. Anyway. It's designed to be a not in combat thing.
Also,
it does take incense worth at least 250 gold, which the spell consumes. Ooh. And 4 ivory strips worth at least 50 gold each. So 250 gold per cast. Plus you got to have 200 gold worth of something else.
So a total of 450 to cast the spell.
Yep. And 250 of that you don't get back.
This is Identify Plus.
Essentially, yes. That is exactly what it is. It is for, like, but you might find out something super cool. Like, I mean, nothing that's going to likely change the outcome of whatever you're doing, but it can give you so much. I mean, it's in the name. It's legend lore. It's lore about a thing that your DM may or may not have spent a lot of time making.
Would this tell you if an item is cursed?
That is interesting. Like, maybe it could. It's open-ended on purpose, right? Yeah. The more information you already have about the thing, the more precise and detailed the information you receive is. So, maybe.
Take that, DMG. All of your precious cursed items that you're protecting. Oh, man. That's cool. It is cool. Huh.
Yeah, I like legend lore. But it's just one of the ones that's it rarely gets taken, and it's rarely used when it is taken because it's so niche. But I love it.
Well, and the hard thing about it too is that, like, if you're not a cleric, then, like, this is a costly spell and would take a valuable spell that, you know, if you're, let's see, bard, wizard. I guess wizard doesn't matter as much. The Undying Warlock can take it.
Yep.
I just think that, like, I see the world through the eyes of a sorcerer now so often, and they get like, oh, you want a spell per level and nothing more? Sucks to suck.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But it's not a sorcerer spell anyway, because sorcerers don't care about knowledge. Otherwise, they'd be wizards.
Yeah. Effing nerds. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
I dig it. I dig it.
Let's move on to the next one that I have here. Demiplane. You create a shadowy door on a flat, solid surface that you can see within range. The door is large enough to allow medium creatures to pass through unhindered. When opened, the door leads to a demiplane that appears to be an empty room 30 feet in each dimension, made of wood or stone. When the spell ends, the door disappears, and any creatures or objects inside the demiplane remain trapped there as the door also disappears from the other side. Each time you cast this spell, you can create a new demiplane or have the shadowy door connect to a demiplane you created with a previous casting of this spell. Additionally, if you know the nature and contents of a demiplane created by a casting of this spell by another creature, you can have the shadowy door connect to its demiplane instead. This is a super cool spell that no one will ever take because it's 8th level.
Yeah, and people don't get to cast 8th level spells.
Yep. And even if they did, they wouldn't burn it on this spell.
See, I am strongly convinced that 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th level spells are not for players, but they are for the DM. Because, like, this is a spell that is just like...
This is an NPC spell for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Are you, like... And I love this, like, freaking... What's that last sentence? If you know the nature and contents of a demiplane created by the casting of this spell by another creature, you can have the shadowy door connect to its... So, like, if you know that somebody hid their stuff in a demiplane, like, don't you think if you knew it well enough that you could, like... I'm gonna, like, break into their storage shed via my own...
Or you're, like, out to rescue an NPC and you find out that they've been stashed in a bad guy's demiplane, and you're like,
yeah,
I can learn the spell. And we can free the NPC.
I would totally, like, if my players decided to do that, if I had the idea to utilize this, like, I would, like, all right, roll an Arcana, and you've got to, like... That'd be lame, though. That'd be a bad way to do it. I'd have to figure a way to make a game out of it. Because it's, like, one roll. Oh, you rolling that one? Well, guess you're never getting in there.
You could have them, like, make a daily check, or, you know, some sort of amount of time you can check it. You can try it again.
This one is pretty cool.
It's super cool, but like you said, it's an NPC spell for sure. No one's ever going to take this.
Like, it's kind of like I could take that, or I could just have my bag of holding for putting it in.
That would be so cool. Like, if you're like, we want to save this guy to question him later. He's unconscious right now. Throw him in the demiplane.
Yeah. And
then later you can be like, open it up and be like, how's it going in there?
Yeah. They could breathe in there.
Yeah. It just says nothing. I mean, it totally infers that you could live in there.
That is a little messed up, but kind of cool too.
Yeah. That's why it's an NPC spell. Because only bad guys use it.
Let your bad guys do this.
All right. I'll move on from that one. That one's fun, though. I like that one a lot. Encode thoughts. Oh, this is even a cantrip. This one, I think, if with a little augmentation, could be something incredibly cool. Okay. Putting a finger to your head, you pull a memory, an idea, or a message from your mind and transform it into a tangible string of glowing energy called a thought strand, which persists for the duration or until you cast this spell again. The duration is 8 hours. The thought strand appears in an unoccupied space within 5 feet of you as a tiny, weightless, semi-solid object that can be held and carried like a ribbon. It is otherwise stationary. If you cast a spell while concentrating on a spell or an ability that allows you to read or manipulate the thoughts of others, such as detect thoughts or modify memory, you can transform the thoughts or memories you read, rather than your own, into a thought strand. Casting this while holding a thought strand allows you to instantly receive whatever memory, idea, or message the thought strand contains. This is like the from Harry Potter, right? Where he pulls the stuff out of his head, but it doesn't seem to take it away from you. It just seems to copy it, is how I read it. And it only lasts for 8 hours. This seems like a really cool thing. Like, if it did take it away from you, and you were going to, like, enter a situation where either you knew your thoughts could be read and you had information that you didn't want to give to the people that you were going to communicate with, or you knew that they were going to, like, compel you to be truthful. If you could take these things out of your head for 8 hours and then go do the thing and then come back, that would seem like a really cool use of a spell like this.
Yeah.
But how do you think you would use this as written?
Yeah, like I guess that's my question. It's like I'm trying to read. So you pull it from your head. Does that mean that you no longer remember it?
It doesn't, like, it could be interpreted that way.
Yeah.
But it doesn't state that anywhere specifically.
Oh, concentrating on a spell or an ability that allows you to read or manipulate the thoughts of others. You transform the thoughts and memories you read, rather.
So you can do it to your own thoughts, or if you have detect thoughts up, you can do it to thoughts that you're reading in someone else.
Is this Inception, dude? Like, check this out. Like, if you cast a spell while concentrating on a spell or ability that allows you to read or manipulate the thoughts of others, detect thoughts, or modify memory, you can. You know what this does?
What?
Is it self? It's self.
Yeah.
Never mind. But if you could do this to someone else and then detect thoughts on them, you could, like, press deeper into it without, like that's always one of the limitations of detect thoughts, is like you can get surface thoughts without them knowing, or you can press in to get more intrusive thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
But they will know that you did that.
Yeah.
But if you thought strand that, like, you could hit them with encode thoughts. I don't know. That doesn't work anyway.
So keep this one in the back of your mind, because I think we may come back to it. But that's just an interesting spell that I found that really is, like, it seems like it's for a specific situation, right? But I don't know what that situation is necessarily.
Yeah, if a bunch of people have this spell, casting this spell while holding a thought strand, can other people hold this thought strand?
Yeah.
Yeah. This would be a way that, like, you could leave messages for other people.
Yeah. For 8 hours.
For 8 hours. I wish that limitation. Gosh, I gotta tell you this. I'd figure out a way to make it permanent. That'd be super cool. It's like audio recordings, except it's
if it's more like the Harry Potter one, right? Mm-hmm. Where you can leave them in a spot, and then someone else can find them and
eat them.
Do whatever it is they do. So I'm probably going to come back to this, but from here we go to detect thoughts.
Oh my gosh, this spell. I wish we had it tonight.
So, I'll read it to start. For the duration, you can read the thoughts of certain creatures. When you cast the spell, and as your action on each turn until the spell ends, you can focus your mind on any one creature that you can see within 30 feet of you. If the creature you choose has an intelligence of 3 or lower, or doesn't speak any language, the creature is unaffected. You initially learn the surface thoughts of the creature, what is most on its mind in that moment. As an action, you can either shift your attention to another creature's thoughts or attempt to probe deeper into the same creature's mind. If you probe deeper, the target must make a wisdom saving throw. If it fails, you gain insight into its reasoning, if any, its emotional state, and something that looms large in its mind, something such as something it worries over, loves, or hates. If it succeeds, the spell ends. Either way, the target knows that you are probing into its mind, and unless you shift your attention to another creature's thoughts, the creature can use its action on its turn to make an intelligence check contested by your intelligence check. If it succeeds, the spell ends. Questions verbally directed at the target creature naturally shape the course of its thoughts, so this spell is particularly effective as part of an interrogation. You can also use this spell to detect the presence of thinking creatures you can't see. When you cast a spell or as your action during the duration, you can search for thoughts within 30 feet of you. The spell can penetrate barriers, but 2 feet of rock, 2 inches of any metal other than lead, or a thin sheet of lead blocks you. You can't detect a creature with an intelligence of 3 or lower, or one that doesn't speak any language. Once you detect the presence of a creature in this way, you can read its thoughts for the rest of the duration as described above, even if you can't see it. But it must still be within range. This spell,
Dope as hell.
it runs the like the weird sort of line of, oh, this just solves everything, or if it doesn't, it has to almost be worthless.
Yeah,
how it
as a
feels to me.
DM, I feel like that first bit, like with like surface thoughts,
Uh-huh.
like you gotta give your players enough for them to feel like it's worth it that they cast a second level spell. Like, especially in a lot of games, that's like not an insignificant spell slot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, until you're what? Seventh, ninth level, where it's like, yeah, second level spells are handy.
Yeah.
Um, but like, obviously, it's just like, okay, surface thought. Like, I want this to feel worth it that you did this, but like, you can't give them everything. You gotta give them like enough that it's worth it, not so much that it doesn't like, I don't know.
Yeah. It becomes one of those things where it's like you're looking for someone, and you know that if you go to the local thieves guild, they know where this person is, and you go up to him and you say, "Hey, where's so and so?" And I, like you cast detect thoughts and then walk in and ask that.
Yeah.
And if it's like, well, do I just give it to you now?
Yeah.
Or like how it's difficult to run that, because if you do it that if you do it that way to where it suggests like, oh, if you just questions verbally directed will naturally shape the course of its thoughts, it becomes a game of, oh, well, everyone knows about this spell and everyone has countermeasures, so you can't ever use it.
Yeah, I mean, like, what I was trying to say earlier is you got to give people incentive to use, like, okay, cool, you used it, so you get this little bit of information,
Mm-hmm.
but I cannot give you more. Like, there has to be a hook to incentivize you to dig deeper and make the choice of whether or not you're going to risk that or not.
Yeah.
You know? So,
So yeah,
I
it's
do
like,
it's like,
yeah, it's one of those spells
I
where if I give it with my example, you walk in and ask, where is so and so, and then if they have detect thoughts cast and they're using it on this person, do they think immediately of where that person is, like most people probably would, and it becomes a surface thought, or are they like, oh, you can see that they're thinking about that person now, that you see their like what they look like and stuff in their thoughts, and or does it only, because it mentions language, does it only detect their like actual inner monologue and not like the like any imagery or ideas that without words that they have, like
yeah, exactly. I I feel like it's almost like insight plus, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, you can break, like, I don't have to roll an insight check because I'm detecting their surface thoughts. It's like I
Mm-hmm.
walked in, I say, hey, does anybody know where this guy is? Then it's just like these four figures, there's a ping of recognition. And it's like, all
Mm-hmm.
right, well, I know that they know. And now it's up to me to see, like, okay, do I go deeper for the location, or do we like trail them and beat them up and like I don't know. I think that
Yeah, there's certainly
it's
fun
tough
things you can
though.
do with it, like
I love the second half of it. Like, that's a cool idea to me. Like, I'm gonna sneak into this area. Like, is there anybody around? I'll just cast detect thoughts, and I can get an instant, like, what do they call that? Like
instant
the
30-foot radar.
Yeah, exactly. Bloop, bloop, bloop.
Yeah, it's it's a spell that is like, if it were just insight plus, then I would rather it be a first level spell.
Yeah, second level's a.
And
And especially for a minute.
yeah,
Like,
but
shoot, dude.
the way it
Invincibility
is, like
power.
it's difficult to work with which I think is why not many people take it. Like you had it at the beginning of the campaign. Why did you decide to toss it?
I'm a sorcerer. That's why. We leveled up, and I'm like, dude, there's not enough spells. Like, I like, shoot, man. Like, here, let me go to my character sheet and tell you. I still have some spells that I'm like, I'm only hanging on to this because of, like, I believe in. If I'm gonna play a spellcaster, the spells that they have and know are going to be catered to that character. I'm not just
Mm-hmm.
gonna like fireball on everyone, even though that would be optional. Uh, like, gosh dang. Oh, I had suggestion forever, and I've not cast it one time in this campaign. Um, so same thing with that. It was just like I think I cast it a couple times, and it was just like this is not useful enough compared to the other things that I feel like Jace would have her do. The other thing too is that like I wish we had it now. Like there's been more perceived usefulness lately, but I don't know.
How would you have
So
used it? How would you have used it recently?
I mean tonight even, you know, like the hanging around the interaction with Saturn and his father.
Mm-hmm.
I would have had that running, just being like, "What's the deal with this guy?" You know what I mean? So, and you could have told me like, "Hey, you know, there's a lot of pain there, or whatever." You know, or like frustration, or whatever you could describe. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like it's a great way to like sense like potential aggression. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just like, okay, let's prepare ourselves if something that's gonna kill us, or like, oh, something is deeply afraid of you in here.
Yeah. That comes back to the does it transmit emotions or does it just transmit words?
Eh, I don't know. I would, I would disregard that. You know, but that's because
Yeah, it's
I'm a
certainly more
feeling
fun
kind of guy.
if it's actual detect thoughts and not detect inner monologue, right?
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So,
But then it should work on things that don't have a language. So yeah, it's
exactly.
it's a weird spell that is. I don't think I don't. It doesn't seem. It seems like it's missing something, and I think it's. I think it's just balanced weirdly. Like for a second level spell, it's like too too much to be used casually, right? And it's too
Yeah.
little to be used. It's not good enough to be used constantly, I guess.
Well, I'm like, okay, what doesn't know language? Like a lot of beasts
Yeah.
and other monsters.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's an element of like, hey, we have other spells that cover some of those bases, like speak with animals.
Yeah.
You don't need to use detect thoughts. You can use speak with animals. So there, our druids now have something that the wizards and sorcerers don't. The ability to talk. Like I would do, like, oh, I'm gonna detect the thoughts of a squirrel. Yeah, maybe not.
Yeah.
Wish you were a druid. So.
I think yeah, this is a spell that I love the idea of, but in
Mhm.
practice it becomes either far too strong or far too worthless.
Yeah. Yeah. It does give the DM and the players a lot of like wriggle room to decide what to do with it.
Yeah. And like I can totally understand why if you were a player and cast detect thoughts and went up to someone and was like, "Hi, I just need to know where this thing is," and just
Hmm.
fully expect them to that immediately to pop into their head, and then decide whether or not they're going to say it out loud, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if that's the way it always works, then it's just like, well, you don't need to ever do anything other than this ever again for any kind of
Yeah.
information. So yeah, it's a weird one. I love it, and I also think that it's not great.
Yeah.
It yeah. Anyway.
Like in that instance, I would probably be like, why is this person asking about them? What the freak do they know?
Yeah.
You know, I would kind of approach it from that.
Yeah, and you totally could, but like, and that's what I think most DMs would do. But as a player, I can definitely see how, well, if I got asked that, I would immediately think, like, well, maybe,
I
but
better not. Yeah, exactly.
I can't hand it to you every time
Yeah,
for
exactly.
the cost of a second level spell. And a
But you
question.
would then know that the person knows. Like, I think you've got to give enough information to be like, this is worth it. So,
Yeah, but like you were saying, I mean, a good insight check does those things.
it's true. But with that, you have to roll.
Yeah, that's true.
With this, you just get it for free.
I suppose
Well,
that's
not
true.
for free. You get it for a
You
second.
get it for the spell slot, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on from detect thoughts, I like it. I also don't like it.
Yeah, I think it's
What's next? Mass suggestion, similar to suggestion, except for you can do it on multiple people.
Yeah.
You suggest a course of activity limited to a sentence or two, and magically influence up to 12 creatures of your choice that you can see within range and that can hear and understand you. Creatures that can't be charmed are immune to this effect. The suggestion must be worded in such a manner as to make the course of action sound reasonable. Asking the creature to stab itself, throw itself onto a spear, immolate itself, or do some other obviously harmful act automatically negates the effect of the spell. So it's like how they say hypnotism works. Like, well, if it's something you weren't willing to do at some point, then you wouldn't do it in anyway.
right.
Each target must make a wisdom save. On a failed save, it pursues the course of action you described to the best of its ability. The suggested course of action can continue for the entire duration, which on mass suggestion is 24 hours. If the suggested activity can be completed in a shorter time, the spell ends when the subject finishes what it was asked to do. You can also specify conditions that will trigger a special activity during the duration. For example, you might suggest that a group of soldiers give all their money to the first beggar they meet. If the condition isn't met before the spell ends, the activity isn't performed. If you or any of your companions damage a creature affected by this spell, the spell ends for that creature. At higher levels, when you cast this using a 7th level spot, the duration is 10 days. When you cast it at 8th level, it's 30 days. And when you cast it at 9th level, it's a year and a day.
Jeez, dude.
This could be so incredibly fun.
So amped up. Like, so amped up.
It's like at the end of X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was the post-credits scene, maybe. And I don't remember who it was. One of the mutants that has the ability to control people's actions by touching them. She tells Stryker, she touches his ankle and says, "Walk." And it shows him just like walking for days in a straight line until someone picks him up. Like, that would be so cool.
Oh man. This, I don't know if you're gonna read it or not, but like this and Charm Person, I mean, they're both enchantment and they're both related, and I just think it's kind of interesting the differences that exist between the two of them, you know? Because like, and friends, like this is great because it's like, you know, hey, Jedi mind trick, you will do this, but like I don't want to jump the gun if you were going to talk about Charm Person or not. But
I didn't have it pulled up, but I got it pulled up now.
yeah, I was looking at it. So you attempt to charm a humanoid you can see within range. It must make a wisdom saving throw and does so with advantage if you or your companions are fighting it. If it fails a saving throw, it is charmed by you until the spell ends or till you or your companions do anything harmful to it. The charmed creature regards you as a friendly acquaintance. When the spell ends, the creature knows it was charmed by you. So suggestion, they don't know that it happened. Like they know that they were charmed.
So wait, say it again?
So in the suggestion spell, if I'm right, so like in this charmed thing,
Yeah.
charm. when the spell ends, the creature knows it was charmed by you.
Mm-hmm.
With suggestion or mass suggestion, I don't think that's in there. I don't think that they know.
Yeah, it doesn't say anything. I mean, I guess it's open for interpretation as to, and I think that it would depend upon how reasonable you can make the suggestion, right?
Yes.
If it's super reasonable, I think absolutely they think that they did it of their own volition,
Right.
unless proven otherwise.
Yeah.
But I think if it's a stretch for how reasonable it is, I think that at the end maybe they do. They know something happened and you were there. So
Right.
But yeah.
I think in our last campaign I used it on some guards when we were digging up some graves. And I was just like, I just used suggestion to be like, tell your men this isn't a problem and everyone go home. And it worked, so I was like, all right, I guess we got a while that we can keep digging.
I don't remember that. Where was that?
It was like around the time when we were. What was Joe's character last campaign?
Seraph.
Seraph. Yeah, we were gonna dig up his mom to like resurrect her, or something like that.
Oh yeah, I vaguely remember that now. Yeah.
The other thing about this that's just like,
I remember now. I do remember now. Okay, it took me a second.
This is kind of pivoting, but like charm. The charmed creature regards you as a friendly acquaintance. So like the idea of like, is there another spell that allows you to control the actions of a person?
I think there is. I think that it is dominate person.
Oh, I think you're right. But like if you're in a fight and use charm person, like it's such an interesting concept. Like let's say you've got your party and 5 bad guys, and you charm one of them. Like, do they continue to fight your friends? Unless you tell them, like, hey, don't?
I mean, rules as written, it is only charmed by you.
Right.
So, it would be open to interpretation as to whether... Because it doesn't mean that it's the people it was fighting with are no longer its friends, right? So if it sees people hitting its other friends,
yeah,
then there's no reason that it wouldn't outside of you. If you were the one hitting them, it would be like, "What? Why are you hitting they're my friends too. Why are you doing that?
Why are my friends fighting? I hate this." Yeah.
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 Yeah. It's all the enchantment. What's really funny is all the enchantment spells are like, they're all spells that in our society would be like top of the list for illegal, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Subverting another person's will?
Yeah.
Like, this is like date rape drug stuff.
Yeah. I'm an
messed
enchantment wizard.
Yeah, dude, that guy needs to be on a watch list. That guy needs to tell his neighbors that he lives in the neighborhood. Oh man.
And that's funny because I kind of incorporated that into Farron, into our current campaign.
You told us that.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, these are illegal.
Yeah,
in the major cities.
Yeah, like most spells are illegal in the major cities, but enchantment ones are of particular interest.
Yeah, it's like, don't. You're gonna find out because you're gonna be effing around.
That's right.
Oh man.
Yeah, mass suggestion is seemingly like super cool. Like,
yeah,
that one could be. That one is as cool as your imagination allows it to be, right? So,
a lot of these spells are.
Yeah. I feel like mass suggestion, especially because the duration is so long. Like if you cast it at 9th level and it lasts a year and a day.
Yeah.
And you tell someone to just walk west.
Yeah.
Like they won't stop. It's so cool.
Yeah. Well, they freaking die.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you could run into an issue where it's like, they're not going to cause self-harm, right?
Yeah, so they
Or
won't
whatever.
walk into the ocean, right?
Yeah.
But yeah,
Or
they could.
they'll stop for. They're not going to walk their legs off. You know what I mean?
I guess it's open to interpretation. Like,
Yes.
if they're like, I could keep walking, then they will
Yeah.
until they literally fall over and pass
Yeah.
out, and then get up and be like, oh, I gotta keep walking.
Starve or yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, very cool spell. It's one of my. It's one of the cooler ones in the enchantment tree, I think. I'm going to move on to commune with nature. You briefly become one with nature and gain knowledge of the surrounding territory. In the outdoors, the spell gives you knowledge of the land within 3 miles of you. In caves and other natural underground settings, the radius is limited to 300 feet. The spell doesn't function where nature has been replaced by construction, such as in dungeons and towns. You instantly gain knowledge of up to 3 facts of your choice about any of the following subjects as they relate to the area: terrain and bodies of water, prevalent plants, minerals, animals, or peoples, powerful celestials, fae, fiends, elementals, or undead, influence from other planes of existence, and buildings. For example,
And
you
you
could determine the location of powerful undead in the area, the location of major sources of safe drinking water, and the location of any nearby towns.
What level spell is this?
5th. So this is potentially a very incredible spell for those gritty realism ones, right?
Yeah. Oh.
Because you can just find fresh water every day.
Yeah.
Um,
But also, you could just be like, how far is it? 300 miles?
3 miles or 300 feet underground.
3 miles. Does it give you a direction for some of these things? Like if we're like, hey, we're on the hunt for a demon, and we know it's in this woods, I'm gonna cast Commune with Nature and find out exactly where they are, or just if it exists.
It says you gain knowledge of up to 3 facts as they relate to the area. Powerful fae, celestials, fiends, elementals, or undead. So, I mean, it's open to interpretation, but I would rule yes. Like, it gives you the direction. It's like that way.
Yeah.
And it only works 3 miles, so you know it's between here and 3 miles from here in that direction. Yeah.
Yeah, that one's cool.
I like it.
I think that one. Yeah.
But again, it's one that's like people will never take. Because how often does it come up? It has to be a specific campaign where you're like gonna be in nature, and B, gonna be needing information in nature, right? So
Right.
But these are almost all like the more time your DM spends creating lore and the more interested you are in that lore, the more valuable these spells become, right?
Right. Yep.
Let's see. Casting time is a minute and the duration is instantaneous, so you just instantly know 3 of those things. It's good. I like.
Nature. Who can cast that?
Druids and rangers and a couple paladins.
It's 5th level?
Yep.
So your rangers and paladins aren't going to get it until they're like...
Yeah, it's going to be a while for them. It's mostly a druid thing.
Or
I guess, I mean, I think...
You can ritual cast it.
Oh
my gosh.
Yes, you can.
Ooh. That's good.
I guess any of these spells could be learned by a bard, right? Because they get...
Oh, with their college of whatever?
Well, yeah, they get magical secrets or whatever, which
Mm-hmm.
allows you to just pick a spell from any class. So, I guess you can add bards to any of these lists pretty much. But yeah, again, super cool. Just depends on if your DM has actually made things for it. And if they haven't, you just wasted a spell.
I mean, I think the other thing too is like you could. I feel like I could come up with this on the fly, or just like attribute it to their next, like, hey, your next survivor roll you get with advantage because you've communed.
Yeah, you can totally do that. Or you could just be like, hey, your next survival roll is you succeed. If
Yeah,
you,
yeah, that's
especially
true.
if
You don't even have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like even in your campaign, I'd be like, dude, this might be a nice spell to have out there.
Yeah.
And like we're looking for the Gith Yankee stuff again.
Yeah.
So
Could be very cool, and especially because it's a ritual and because it only has 3 mile radius.
yeah,
Like you can take 11 minutes every 3 miles and get new information. All right, I do want to talk a little bit about Tiny Hut and Magnificent Mansion.
yeah.
How do you feel about Tiny Hut?
It just feels like it solves all the problems. What level is it?
It's 3rd level, and it's a ritual cast.
Oh man.
It's one of those spells that, like you said, it just solves
invulnerable, right?
Essentially, yes.
Unless it gets dispelled.
Mm-hmm. There has been some people like to rule that it doesn't have a bottom,
Yeah.
so it can be dug into. Which I guess is a way you could do it, but it's like at that point, who realizes that you can dig into it?
Right.
And then at that point, why does anyone ever cast it? If it's such common knowledge that you can just dig under.
Yeah. It's a cool idea. Like, it really is. This is one of those where it's just like, see, the creative camping stuff, you're really digging it now. You're not going to take thaumaturgy to change your rations into McDonald's french fries, but this you'll use to make your own little apartment.
Yeah, and it's such a small thing, too. It's only a 10-foot radius, so, like...
9 creatures.
As a combat thing, that's 4 people, right?
Right. Yeah.
But as a non-combat thing, 9 creatures.
That's like camping tent sizes, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
just like, you're telling me to sleep 6? Like, what?
You better be real friendly with each other.
Exactly, dude. So, I do like the fact the atmosphere inside the space is comfortable and dry, regardless of the weather outside. Like, that's cool. It's got some cool flavor to it.
Yeah.
Same thing with the mansion.
Yeah.
Mordenkainen.
Yeah. Let's talk about the mansion a little bit. Mansion is super cool because you can just do, it's so free about how you can use it. You can essentially design anything. It does give you some like dimensions, but like at that point with the dimensions it gives you, it's like, why not just let it be whatever you want?
Yeah. Does it end in the last 24 hours? Okay.
Yeah. I think is this one of the ones that you can, if you cast the same time? No, it is not. I don't think. Because there are some spells where if you cast in the same spot, like over every day for a year or something, it's permanent. I don't think this is one.
Yeah. Yeah. For those listening, if you've never heard this, you conjure. You conjure.
Good for you. Good for you. Good for you.
Conjure. You conjure. Oh, conjure. You conjure an extra dimensional dwelling in a range that lasts for the duration. You choose where its one entrance is located. The entrance shimmers faintly and is 5 feet wide and 10 feet tall. You and any creature you designate when you cast the spell can enter the extra dimensional dwelling as long as the portal remains open. You can open or close the portal if you are within 30 feet of it, while close the portal is visible. Okay. We have talked about the door for several sentences. Beyond the portal is a magnificent foyer with numerous chambers beyond. The atmosphere is clean, fresh, and warm. You can create any floor plan you like, but the space can't exceed 50 cubes, each cube being 10 feet on each side. The place is furnished It contains sufficient food to serve a 9-course banquet for up to 100 people. A staff of 100 near-transparent servants attends all who enter. You decide the visual appearance of these servants and their attire. They are completely obedient to your orders. Each servant can perform any task a normal human servant can perform, but they can't attack or take any action that would directly harm another creature. Thus, the servants can fetch things, clean, mend, fold clothes, light fires, serve food, pour wine, and so on. The servants can go anywhere in the mansion but can't leave it. Furnishings and other objects created by the spell dissipate into smoke if removed from the mansion. When the spell ends, any creatures or objects left inside are expelled into the open spaces near to the entrance. Well,
Very cool spell. What I kind of like about it is that it's not a ritual cast.
yeah, it takes a minute.
Yep.
Yeah, you've got to be like... It is funny. Because this is Wizards and Bards again. Like, hey, we had a really hard fight today. And our reward is we have to sleep in the dome. Tomorrow we can sleep in the mansion. Yeah, exactly. Oh, man. Like, any Critical Role fans out here, this was one of the coolest parts of Campaign 2.
Yeah, Liam took almost a full episode describing the Magnificent Mansion, and it was great.
It was so cool. It was like, that is so thought out. I just have to say, he has some of the most tremendous descriptors. Like, listening to him play a martial character is like a delight.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah.
Anyway,
I like listening because when he first started playing Caleb, I was like, "This is the best wizard ever." I loved how he like described how he would cast the spell. Like that he would describe the somatic components of like, how he would move his hands and stuff, and I was like, "That's so cool."
I slap bat guano and sulfur together. Yeah. My hand.
Yeah, and then he's like, I grind my hand through the other hand for firewall, and I was like, that's so cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. He was good at that, man.
Yeah, and then he played a martial character, and it's like, oh, sad. And then he started describing how he does his martial stuff. It's like, oh, okay.
This is actually the coolest thing in this friggin' fight. Yeah. Yeah, these are the housing options. Which, funny enough, we don't have these in our campaign right now.
Yep.
There's no hut and there's no mansion.
Wait.
Yeah, but there's no hut either.
No, you got a hut.
Oh, I guess we have the tower. Oh, we do have a wizard.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mouse.
Mouse casts the hut almost every time. You cast it multiple times walking through the thing of fighting all the undead.
Yeah, that's true. That's pretty forgettable that way, I guess.
This is like...
What level is Hut? Third level?
Third level.
I will say this. If you're in a campaign, most of the time you're not starting at level 5. And it feels like, hey, you don't have to worry about nighttime ambushes anymore. Like, you've earned that power. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. I'm trying to like, I've considered using, because we do our long rests a little different than the rule is written. I've considered letting, like, if only like 2 people sleep in the hut, those 2 people can get a long rest. Everyone else has to suffer through a short rest.
Because it's like, oh, spacious.
Yeah.
And temperature controlled.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, so you get to choose. That'd be tough, though, because it's like, well, looks like me and Mouse are going to sleep well every night.
Yeah. Ultimately, that's what it would come down to. Which is why I don't want to do it. But,
yeah. Yep.
Anyway, yeah, I like those spells too, and like the especially if you use the Magnificent Mansion. What really got me on it was Liam describing how he did it, and I was like, that's so cool, because
That is
they
really
like
cool.
it's a cool spell if you just like, yeah, we're gonna have a nice place to sleep tonight. Oh, great.
Yeah.
But when you just like the way he described it and the way he designed it was, I
When you
liked it a
take
lot.
that time.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's so cool. Like I was reading through this and I was like, dude, this is the flippin' Phantom of the Opera. Or what was the song? Like everybody's kind of possessed by the magic of the Phantom for one dance or whatever it was. So those of you
All right.
watching, I have some leg pain, so I'm standing up and trying to sort it out. Sorry about that.
All right, I got four more that I definitely want to get to, so I'll try to go a little faster.
We'll rapid fire these.
Dream. 5th level spell. This spell shapes a creature's dreams. Choose a creature known to you as the target of the spell. The target must be on the same plane of existence as you. Creatures that don't sleep, such as elves, cannot be contacted by this spell. You or a willing creature you touch enters a trance state, acting as a messenger. While in the trance, the messenger is aware of his or her surroundings, but can't take actions or move. If the target is asleep, the messenger appears in the target's dreams and can converse with the target as long as it remains asleep. Through the duration of the spell, the messenger can also shape the environment of the dream, creating landscapes, objects, and other images. The messenger can emerge from the trance at any time, ending the effect of the spell early. The target recalls the dream perfectly upon waking. If the target is awake when you cast the spell, the messenger knows it and can either end the trance and the spell, or wait for the target to fall asleep, at which point the messenger appears in the target's dreams. You can make the messenger appear monstrous and terrifying to the target. If you do, the messenger can deliver a message of no more than 10 words, and then the target must make a wisdom save. On a failed save, echoes of the phantasmal monstrosity spawn a nightmare that lasts the duration of the target's sleep and prevents the target from gaining any benefit from that rest. In addition, when the target wakes up, they take 3d6 psychic damage. If you have a body part, lock of hair, clipping from a nail, or similar portion of the target's body, the target makes that save with disadvantage.
Mm-hmm.
This
Is it touch?
It is not.
What's the range?
The range is self. So you can do that's for the messenger.
Uh-huh.
So it's touch if you want to make someone else the messenger, because it does mention that. But the target can be anywhere. There is no range on that.
This is a bad guy spell, dude. That's a cool, like...
I used the spell a few times in Michael's first campaign. There was this, like, kid that we met that was, like, super weird, and, like, he was, like, described as one of those kids who, like, does weird things to, like, dead animals kind of kids.
Ooh.
And so we were like trying to give him like set him on a better path. And so I was like, I'm gonna cast Dream, and I went into this kid's dream and was like trying to help him like sort through these issues, and we actually learned some information in there. It was very cool.
That is cool. I have in my campaign, like, this is like some hag stuff. Like, I feel like hags would use this for sure. And like the idea of them trying to, like, I've got a lock of your hair, so you have to make this a like, that seems so thematically in place. That's cool. Cool spell.
Yep. I like Dream a lot. Move on to Augury.
Ooh, yeah. This one's so goofy.
By casting gem inlaid sticks, rolling dragon bones, laying out. By doing these things, you receive an omen from an otherworldly entity about the results of a specific course of action that you plan to take within the next 30 minutes. The DM chooses from the following possible omens. You either get a good result, a bad result, a good and bad result, or a result that isn't especially good or bad. The spell doesn't take into account any possible circumstances that might change the outcome, such as casting additional spells or the loss or gain of a companion. If you cast the spell 2 or more times before completing the next long rest, there's a cumulative 25% chance for each casting after the first one that you get a random reading. The DM makes that roll in secret. This spell is so, like, open to interpretation that it makes it almost useless,
Yeah.
but so fun.
It is very weird.
Like,
It is super weird.
it seems like, because like, what is good, what is bad, right? It seems like a way for a party to ask the DM, "Are we doing this right?"
Right.
And the DM to be
Yep.
like, "Nope, you're all gonna die if you
Yep.
do that. It's a bad idea."
Yeah.
But like, if like, do you define, depending on what your goal is your death necessarily a bad result if you complete the objective? Like,
Yeah.
where do you draw those lines?
Yeah. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It's a weird spell that no one takes, this one I kind of think maybe no one should take.
Yeah, just because it doesn't work so great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's because it's open to too much. It's too interpretive for us,
Right.
and it's a second level spell slot for. I feel like if you're at the level where a second level spell slot doesn't matter, then neither does this spell.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it is. I mean, like, if you flavor this right and your character has a relationship with
The
whatever
otherworldly entity.
yeah, it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And if it is, like, you'd have to be so specific with your question that it could be decided.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because like none of like, as a DM, you never actually know. Dice rolls are random. Like you don't
Yeah.
know.
Yep.
Anyway, that's a super weird spell, but I like that it's there, but I would never probably take it. Moving on, I got 2 left. Contingency. Okay, this is a 6th level spell. Choose a 5th level or lower spell that you can cast that has a casting time of 1 action and that can target you. You cast that spell, called the Contingent spell, as part of casting Contingency, expending spell slots for both. But the Contingent spell doesn't come into effect. Instead, it takes effect when a certain circumstance occurs. You describe that circumstance when you cast the 2 spells. For example, a contingency cast with water breathing might stipulate that water breathing comes into effect when you are engulfed in water or a similar liquid. The contingent spell takes the effect immediately after the circumstance is met for the first time, whether or not you want it to, and then contingency ends. The contingent spell takes effect only on you, even if it can normally target others. You can only use 1 contingency spell at a time. If you cast a spell again, the other contingency ends. It also ends if you don't have the material component on you. This one could be so cool. Like, just
how long does it last?
10 days.
Could you cast Contingency and Revivify on yourself?
I mean,
If I die,
I'm sure that there is a way to do it, but this is a wizard specific spell.
oh, okay,
And wizards don't typically get that. You could totally multi-class
yeah,
and get it. But yeah, you could totally do that, and it would be amazing.
Yeah.
But you would lose the diamonds every time, right?
yeah,
Because you cast it, and then 10 days go by, and if it didn't work, then you still would have lost the diamonds.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a super cool idea.
That is cool.
And one popular way that this is used is like, if my hit points go below 20, some threshold, then I cast Polymorph on myself and turn myself into like a T-Rex, right?
T-Rex, yeah,
So,
Giant or whatever. Yeah. Now I have 1 billion hit points.
yeah,
Pretty cool. That's dope.
yeah. It's a very cool spell, but it's so specific that it would not always be able to work out the way you wanted.
I like those spells. Like, isn't Glyph of Warding similar? Where it's just like, if a condition happens in a certain space, then this happens?
Yes.
Yeah. Reactions. The spell.
Reactions to the spell. All right. I like contingency. Last one.
Very cool.
An 8th level spell, Glibness.
Yeah.
Until
Oh,
the
this
spell
spell is
ends,
so dumb.
when you make a charisma check, you can replace the number you roll with a 15. Additionally,
Yeah.
no matter what you say, magic that would determine if you are telling the truth indicates that you are being truthful. It's a super cool spell.
This is a bad guy spell, dude. This is a
It
bad guy
is.
spell.
It's so cool. I love it.
Let me ask you this: on things like this, rules of written, like until the spell ends, when you make a charisma check, you can replace the number you roll with a 15. Does that mean that like pre-modifiers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It says
This is
replace
a
the
bad guy
number
spell.
that you roll with a 15, not
Yeah.
the result of the
result.
result
Yeah.
of the check, but the number you roll.
So zone of truth does not work.
Yep.
I love that this is just for bards and warlocks. That's cool. I dig that.
That's actually very weird, right? That wizards
For
can't
all of
access
you.
it.
Yeah. Well, in a way, it makes sense too. It's like you guys are too nerdy to think about something like this.
Only charisma classes that aren't sorcerer.
Yeah, exactly. I like it just makes sense. Like you're probably not gonna have a super diabolical bard, but you could have like a wicked warlock that's like, yeah, I'm taking this. This is a bad guy spell. No zone of truth. Um. Oh man, that's
Yeah.
that's pretty good.
It's a pretty cool spell.
Like
But
it's funny that it's like
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's like those DM hacks where it's just like I don't want to reveal too much about my BBEG, but my players are grilling him and
He's got access to glibness.
insight. Well, guess what? He casts glibness before he talked to you.
The downside is it only lasts an hour,
Right,
so
and
you
they have to.
know
They
you're
have to.
gonna be talking to someone
Yeah, exactly.
to burn an 8th level spell just out of nowhere.
Yeah, like pre interrogation.
Yep. Oh, there is. Let's see. I think there's one more that I didn't have written down, but I do. That glibness reminded me of it. What is it called? It's. I think I can find it real quick. It's okay. So the gist of the spell is that it's wizard only. If you cast it as a reaction, and it basically, okay, here it is. I found it. Gift of Gab. When you cast a spell, you skillfully reshape the memories of listeners in your immediate area so that each creature of your choice within 5 feet of you forgets everything you said within the last 6 seconds. Those creatures then remember that you actually said the words you speak as the verbal component of the spell. No save. You just last 6 seconds erased. Quick retcon. It's only a 2nd level spell.
Oh my gosh. This is a 2nd level spell that's like, yo, dude, this is a real life spell too. You
Yeah.
could tell anybody off. You could be like, supervisor, you should go play in traffic. That was a great idea.
That's right. And you could totally use it to like gauge reactions on things that maybe you don't want people to know that you know about, right?
Exactly.
It's so cool. It's such a cool spell. I love it.
It's anybody within
5 feet of you.
5 feet of
It's
you.
pretty tight, but like
Yeah.
not so tight that it's I mean it's reasonable if for a social interaction.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, totally. But like if you're in a room full of people at a meeting or whatever, I'm just thinking about
Like, everyone gather around. I have something to say.
yeah, exactly.
I hate all of you. You can all die. I just wanted to bring you in here to say that I am very fond of each and every one of you.
Exactly. Good work, team. Man, these are cool. And this is we just scratched the surface. Like,
Yeah.
there's so much, like I was thinking about Wall of Force, like the way that you use that in our campaign. Cool. I thought about this topic just from that one spell that I had early on. What is that one called? like 20-foot cube, a random effect.
Oh, the
Um,
mischief. What is it?
Nathair's Mischief. That's
Mischief.
it.
That is okay. That was the word I was looking
Yeah,
for.
this one is so flipping cool. You get a surge. Anytime you can roll a dice to determine what happens, I'm here for it.
Yep.
So
All very cool
cool.
spells. All recommend you take all of them, even the ones we said don't take. Take them. Find a way to use them.
Talent. Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Challenge yourself. Like these spells are new game plus. Like when you're feeling kind of worn out on D&D, like challenge yourself to take spells that are not like fireball, lightning bolt, whatever, right? Like make yourself and your creative brain think of like how can I use this to like break the game or whatever. So
Yeah, take it. Look at the spells
cool.
that you like. I would never take this, and figure out a reason why you actually would take it,
Yeah.
and then use it that one time, and feel great about it, and then likely never again because your DM will be like, "That's dumb. It's too strong."
Yeah. Dude, I gotta take Nathair's Mischief again. This thing is so cool.
All right, so that's it for spells. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for chatting with me. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye.
See you next time. Bye.